Welcome to the Fascinating Show. Today we are going to discuss the top 10 movies on Netflix of 2020.
American Murder, The Family Next Door. This chilling Netflix documentary from director Jenny Popplewell is one of the best movies I've seen all year. It follows the 2018 murders of Shannon Watts and her two young daughters, as well as her unborn child, and what's remarkable about this heartbreaking film is the jaw-dropping footage that Popplewell got her hands on, as the investigation was documented almost immediately by Watts' friends. The other airy aspect of American Murder is that it is seemingly narrated from beyond the grave thanks to the sheer amount of communication from Shannon that was available, from deceptive Facebook videos to intimate text messages with her friends concerning elements of her marriage. I don't want to say too much more because this is the kind of film that is best enjoyed knowing as little as possible, but American Murder truly is one of the best true crime entries I've seen in a while. Not only does it shine a light on the kind of tragedy that has become all too common, but it also offers a surprisingly emotional journey as it examines the true meaning of sociopathy. And like HBO's The Jinx, this is one confession that you'll never forget. Becoming. Charting Michelle Obama, as she embarks on a star-studded, stadium-filling book tour, Becoming could have easily been a self-congratulatory victory lap, but instead offers something deeper and more uplifting, at a time when we need it the most. Nadia Halgren's beautifully shot documentary doesn't go as deep as you might expect, but Obama is open and honest about her life and the life that she shared with Barack, including the frustration but ultimate fulfillment with putting her career aside to raise their children and eventually become the First Lady. It also is a wonderful historical document of the ways that the press ruthlessly tore her down. Remember the fist bump interpreted as a terrorist fist jab? Even The New Yorker had an awful cover, and the ways that she stayed true to who she was and worked hard to better herself and her community. You will cry, for sure, during some of her heartfelt stories, but also because of how deeply you miss the Obamas in the White House. In a particularly fraught time, when racial divides seemed deeper than ever, also on fire and smoldering from tear gas, it felt like we had made true strides nominating a president that was so different from all the ones that came before him, with a first lady that was unlike any we'd ever seen. Michelle's strength, determination, and good humor feel like a guiding light in these dark times. But what this documentary makes abundantly clear is that she will never stop. And neither should we. The Boys in the Band. The Boys in the Band is the best kind of film adaptation of a play originally written by famed playwright Mark Crowley. As you'd want from a theatrical adaptation, the film directed by theater stalwart Joe Mantello locks into a relentlessly gripping groove once our exceptional ensemble cast with special shout-outs to Robin DeJesus and Chuck Watkins simply starts talking in the same room together. The inciting incident, ostensibly, is an old college friend of Jim Parsons, played with mysterious layers by Brian Hutchison, here to crash Parsons' party with some kind of secret he can no longer hold on to. But the real pleasures of the film come simply from observing old friends find new ways to engage with each other, pick at each other's scars, and simply love each other. And it ain't all a talky fest either. Mantello and DP Bill Pope find lovely, brilliantly lit visual pieces of storytelling to tie it all together, and Ned Martell's adaptation of Crowley's work expands certain elements out organically and welcomely. Circus of Books. Like so many folks before you, there's just no way you're gonna know what you're in for when you meet the Masons, are a sweet and unassuming older couple. Married for decades, parents to 3 kids, they're amiable and easygoing folks at the heart of Netflix's stellar documentary Circus of Books. That title also happens to be the name of their Los Angeles business, a hardcore gay porn shop. Directed by Rachel Mason, their daughter, the film explores how Circus of Books came to be an essential safe zone for the gay community over the decades, how the store ran up against First Amendment rights along the way, and the journey towards acceptance, in themselves and their family. As business boomed, children came of age, the years went on. Captured with all the love, admiration, frustration, and fury of a family, Circus of Books is a fascinating look into LGBTQ+ history and a tender piece of filmmaking from Mason that's an essential watch for any documentary fan. Crip Camp. Netflix has some great documentaries as evidenced by their Oscar win earlier this year for American Factory, and 2020's Crip Camp joins those ranks. The film is a story about the slow process of activism, which makes it more than a little relevant right now. It opens with archival footage from 1971 of a camp for disabled teens called Camp Gen before following various campers over the years as they fight for the disability rights movement and accessibility legislation. It's a fascinating and heartbreaking chronicle of how hard it is to enact significant change, especially heartbreaking because in this case that change is making the world accessible to those with disabilities. But it's ultimately rousing and insightful. Da 5 Bloods. Leave it to Spike Lee to bring us the perfect antidote to an empty summer blockbuster season. The Oscar-winning filmmaker's ambitious Vietnam War drama Da 5 Bloods is tremendously moving, stirring, and unwieldy all at once. The story chronicles 4 Black Vietnam War veterans who return to Vietnam to recover the body of their fallen squad leader and some gold they left behind. The film digs into racial tensions between the U.S. and Vietnam, but also between the U.S. and black soldiers who fought for their country only to return home to find they had even more battles to fight. This is a confronting and ugly film that cuts no corners in showcasing all aspects of humanity, and Delroy Lindo gives the performance of his career as a hardened, bitter man harboring old wounds that refuse to heal. It's not just the best Netflix movie of 2020 so far, it's the best film of the year so far full stop. The Devil All the Time. Director Antonio Campo's adaptation of Donald Ray Pollock's 2011 novel is a grimy Southern Gothic noir following an extremely disparate group of people in post-World War II Ohio who ultimately collide in explosive ways. It's a movie about religious obsession and the burdens of faith, and the darker implications of what we chose to pass on to our children. It's also a movie about Robert Pattinson playing a slimy, reptilian Southern Baptist preacher, which is a thing I never realized I needed until he strolled on screen sporting a tremendous fake belly and far too many rings. The rest of the cast is stellar, too. Tom Holland plays the put-upon main character Arvin with a quiet intensity we don't normally see from him, Bill Skarsgård plays his tortured father Willard, and Jason Clarke and Riley Keough star as a married pair of serial killers, and that's just half of the main cast. Interestingly, Pollock serves as the film's narrator, and his deep cowboy drawl is a perfect fit. The Devil All the Time is an extremely dark film, at times almost punishingly so, but it's a gripping drama loaded with memorable performances that is well worth your time. Enola Holmes. One of the most pleasant surprises of 2020 was Enola Holmes. The film wasn't supposed to be a Netflix movie. Warner Brothers sold it to the streamer early in the pandemic, and it was still able to find an audience in 2020. But what a delightfully charming movie. It works on a base level as a Sherlock Holmes-style mystery starring Millie Bobby Brown as the youngest Holmes sibling, but the script by Jack Thorne adeptly digs into themes of feminism and mother-daughter relationships, turning this charming book adaptation into a thematically rich story of independence. Brown shines, of course, but Henry Cavill is also excellent and insanely handsome as Sherlock Holmes, and director Harry Bradbeer, best known for Fleabag, does a wonderful job of keeping the audience in Enola's pav. In a year without major blockbusters, Enola Holmes delivered on the spectacle and heart in equal measure. Eurovision Song Contest, The Story of Fire Saga. What an absolutely unexpected delight Eurovision, The Story of Fire Saga turned out to be. While many presumed this was another silly Will Ferrell comedy, this film written by Ferrell and Andrew Steele actually turned out to be a surprisingly emotional and thoughtful story of hope, love, and pride. It does indeed deliver on the comedy antics, but Rachel McAdams more than holds her own as one half of the titular Icelandic performing duo, delivering on both the comedy and emotional aspects of the story. And the songs? Absolute bangers. Extraction. Extraction has two things going on, both very appealing. One, it is an absolutely raw, brutal powerhouse of an action picture, with aggressively violent combat and a one-take sequence that grabs you by the chest and doesn't let go. 2. It is an interior story about a man trying to regain his humanity when being human means being killed. Chris Hemsworth tackles sometimes literally both sides of his character expertly, grounding the trope-laden narrative with uncommonly excellent physical and emotional stakes. His Tyler Rake is a mercenary on the brink of existence, a man who finds nothing worth enjoying in the day-to-day of life, whose capacity for normalcy was beaten out of him some time ago. When he gets the assignment to find a kidnapped child Rudolph Jaiswal and return him, he does so out of grim obligation. It's always fucking complicated, isn't it? Sighs Hemsworth in a line reading that skillfully evades badass for the stronger resigned. And when this assignment spins out of control, Hemsworth must fight for his life, his soul, and his newfound friend's future. Don't get it twisted, this is absolutely a movie where Hemsworth annihilates the shit out of a bunch of dudes and, in one strange sequence, some teenagers and younger. But it's also a movie where Hemsworth has done his homework and has given his character's physical struggles resonant emotional stakes. Also, Hollywood, if you're reading, hire Sam Hargrave to direct all of your action movies and then some. The way this guy stages combat is a jolt to behold.